The Kate Dalley Show starts now.
PSYOPs use coordinated messaging to reinforce a narrative. So look for phrases that feel copy and pasted. And the moment you hear copy paste phrases, that is a PSYOP.
He's letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw.
He's letting Elon Musk take the chainsaw.
He's letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw
to vital government programs.
The Republican plan is simple.
The Republican plan is simple.
Families lose.
Families lose.
Families lose.
Families lose. Families lose. Billionaires win.
And billionaires win.
Billionaires win.
Billionaires win.
And that is the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that's the truth.
And that is the truth.
The only truth you know is what you get over this tube. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true.
We have is in this moment.
Listen to your constituents. Center them in this moment.
But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment.
You know, I think about what's happening, in this moment.
What's important is that we meet this moment.
So are these current Democrats the ones to meet the moment?
What do you want to see us doing right now in this moment?
And which Democrats are actually going to stand up against Elon Musk and Donald Trump in this moment?
The fight that you all are exhibiting is not just what the base wants, but it's what this moment requires.
It's always fun, I think, on this International Day of Happiness today. Is that really what this day is? International Day of Happiness. Are you happy? Are you doing good? So anyway, I just had to share the media gobbledygook rhetoric with you. It is astounding. Am I right? I mean, you've got these phrases. They use them over and over and over again. How many times have we heard chainsaw? I mean, it's just amazing, right? And, in these roles, you can learn so much about who the media really is. And, they're obvious about it. So, Anyway, I have a lot to share with you today. And by a lot, I mean a lot. Now, this is probably a perfect day for you to call in. So calls should be flowing. 888-673-1450 if you're listening to me in the afternoon live on the air. And of course, you can catch this show in the evening at X American News on X and on YouTube and Rumble. But I also, because I'm live on the air, I want to make sure that you know that you can call in. And I'm talking to you, Nevada, Mississippi, and Oregon, and Alabama, and Salt Lake, and all these different Missouri. I'm talking to all of you guys. If you're listening to me live, call in. I want to hear from you because I'm going to be playing a lot of different pieces of information for you. And this is going to be a learning show for sure today. Just kind of catch up on everything. Chris Ann Hall is going to join me next week live on the show. And so will Grace. And so it left that having both of them go ahead, and we had to reschedule. We had to do some rescheduling for them. And so it kind of left today's show. Actually, I sometimes love these kinds of shows where you get to call in and let me know what you have found, what you're working on, and what you have been researching, because I think those are, I don't know, I just think they're really important points. And so I want to start off with something that is not really being talked about in the media, of course. In fact, pretty much the whole show is this way today. I just want to give you some things I've been thinking about, some insights, and get your take on it. Actually, that's what I really want to do. So I'm going to start out with the data centers. Now, I know I've done some shows on the data centers. I was actually really shocked the first week of President Trump's presidency when they were talking about building all these data centers and things. And I also want to talk about nuclear, because I think this is a really important discussion to have. And maybe I can share some insights on some things I've been thinking about with you. So 888-673-1450. And I'm going to get into some health stuff today, some really interesting health stuff that I want to share with you as well. Okay, so let's get going. So on the official X account of Bill Grotesque Gates, he's so gross. He said, I've been waiting almost 20 years for this day. Today we broke ground on the first ever natrium plant in Wyoming. I know I'm saying that wrong. And this next generation nuclear power plant is a big step towards safe, abundant, zero carbon energy. Now, their coal plant, they don't have very many people that live in that town. There's like 2,500 people in this small town in Wyoming. And pretty much everyone, I think, works for the coal plant. And that coal plant is to be shuttered. Now, there's a lot of coal plants to be shuttered. And what are we doing about that? I know we're hearing drill, baby, drill, but I'm just trying to understand what's going on because we've got Gates doing this natrium plant in Wyoming. And there's a couple of things about it that are bothering me that I want to, obviously anything Bill Gates does, I want to point out because you kind of have to watch him for all of the money he's taking in, not only for AIDS, not only for AIDS research, I should say, you know, that boondoggle for 35 years, but also into all the kind of things that he's doing in our health, all the private public partnerships that are really just public partnerships that he's involved in. And so what's really going on? There's the financial angles, there's the what's happening in the future angle, all kinds of things. So anyway, he announces this last year, right, that this is going to be happening and that this thing will be built pretty soon. And I think by 2026 or 27, the coal plant will be shuttered completely. And those employees in Wyoming are going to jump over to his plant, okay, his nuclear plant. Now, the natrium reactor, okay, so this is kind of interesting. It's a non-light water reactor in the Western Hemisphere being built today to meet the challenges of clean energy transition gobbledygook, okay? Because they just can't allow coal-fired anything, right? That's their whole MO, right? The leftist loony is just totally bought in, and so they know that they can't get the continuous energy with wind-powered. They worry about solar now, so now it's going back to nuclear. Okay, so we have had some problems in the past. We also have something that Microsoft just did with 3 Mile Island that I want to talk about too, that really wasn't talked about because we were in the middle of election stuff, okay? But here we sit past mid-March, and these are the kinds of things I want to bring up, and I want to play something for you too coming up here. So, under construction, and this is from the article, right? Retiring coal plant in Wyoming, natrium plant, this is Bill Gates' plant, is proof that nuclear will play a critical role in combating climate change. Really interesting. So it'll also play a key support to this historic energy producing community's local economy. And so basically this non-light water nuclear power plant uses a coolant rather than water, such as helium, liquid metal like sodium, and molten salt to transfer heat from the reactor core, right? And they're saying, in theory, that this will be more safe and more efficient and use applications beyond electricity generation. One of the biggest reasons that he wants to build these is so that they can expand data centers, right? And this is one of the reasons that they say that they have to do it. This is also one of the reasons that they say they have to, that Microsoft announced at the end of last year that they were going to re-energize, should I say, re-up 3 Mile Island. Now, you guys remember 3 Mile Island, right? Okay, 1979, right? Worst nuclear disasters in the United States, reopening, and it's going to exclusively sell the power to Microsoft as the company searches for energy sources to fuel its AI ambitions. Okay, AI meaning data centers. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of buzz about this. It was really weird. It was announced in the fall last year, in 2024, but people were way too far into the election to even give it a thought. So Constellation Energy is what it is. And they announced Friday that their Unit 1 reactor, which closed 5 years ago because there were a couple of different reactors on 3 Mile Island, is going to be revived in 2028. And it's dependent on Nuclear Regulatory Commission approval, of course. Of course. And Microsoft will purchase the carbon-free energy produced from its power to data centers to support artificial intelligence. It's all going to be about artificial intelligence and how much water we need for it and how much power we need for it. This will be the constant conversation coming up again and again and again and again and again. You're going to hear this over and over and over again. Now, it's interesting, too, because there was also an article around the same time, within a month's difference, of Wyoming. Let's go back to Wyoming's Colorado River water rights are in jeopardy without improved information. They were worried about the water. Okay, so I know, and you know, as we've discussed many times on this show, that the drought lie is a complete and total absurdity. It's a lie. Okay, the whole drought narrative. Now we're going to be going into full-on spring and summer, and this is all you're going to hear about is drought, drought, drought. Okay, that's it. It's just going to be about drought. Now, it's interesting because if you go to primarywater.org, you can basically kind of get a basic understanding of why I'm saying that. The politicians do not question the drought narrative. Nobody questions the drought narrative. And there's something really, really wrong with this because of the fact that we're not getting the memo that we have water underfoot. We're not understanding that it's an infinite supply. It comes at different levels. Primary water kind of shows how to get a hold of this water, where to dig. I even had a diviner on the show, you know, somebody that is able to search out water, right? And they mock that now and they go, oh, that's, you know, woo-woo stuff. No, it's not. It's been going on for the ages, right? For all of time. But finding water is not that difficult, but they're going to sell you a drought narrative. And I just find it kind of sad because I know people are believing this garbage. I know that that they walk away from the propaganda. Everyone says drought, and that this is going to become the big topic of conversation that won't be in media, in mainstream, because they're going to stick to certain narratives. But this is the conversation, the underlining conversation that people should be having because people need to know about primary water, but also the drought narratives. We need to poke holes in those. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you why. And I want to give you some insight as to what I think is going on. All right. What's going on at the heart of all of this? Why is Bill Gates into this? Be right back. Kate Dalley Show, katedalleyradio.com. Stay with me.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Move over, little dog, cause the big dog's moving in. She's changed the lock on our front door.
I know, it's an oldie, right?
No
I'm sure there's some out there that would appreciate that oldie. Anyway, a little Hank for you. So welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. Glad to be with you today. And of course, I will take calls today. 888-673-1450 if you're listening in the afternoon. Make sure and get over to allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. They have a BOGO going on, a buy one, get one, and you'll want to take advantage of that for ivermectin and fenbendazole. It's a great cleanse. It's we should all be doing it. We should have been doing it our whole lives, but for some reason that got lost in translation when you get into the white medical coats telling us what to do and being trained in a certain way. They don't talk about parasites. Other countries do it. We don't. And so we need to. And this is a great way to do it. You can get anything from them, actually, and get it right to your door and just order online, which is really nice instead of having to search out and pay for a doctor. to do that, they have doctors in-house. So allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Okay. You can also use the code Kate10 and you can get 10% off. All right. So let me play a clip for you. I had to heavily edit it because it is Dan Pena, the billionaire. Remember, Dan Pena was the one that was pointing out how the mortgage paperwork would have to have something in it about climate change. If it was an actual threat to give somebody a loan, they would have to disclose all threats. And he said, man, that was the biggest hoax farce in the world. He wished he would have thought of it. Okay. He's the billionaire. So here's Dan Pena on Bill Gates buying up farmland. Love this clip. A friend sent this to me, and I absolutely think he's right on most of this. I'll tell you why. Here we go. Oh, whoops. And you know what I have to do first? Cut music. There we go. Okay. It's a live show. What can I say? All right, here we go.
The big money, the real money on the planet. I've been saying this for 15 years. You've seen the movies with Mel Gibson, Mad Max. That's where we're headed. Money doesn't mean anything. And I've got some really smart guys that I've known that have been buying up water rights around the world for 30 plus years. Water is the next crypto, the next gold.
Well, then oxygen, right?
Actually, you can produce oxygen. It's tougher to make water. There's a reason why Ted Turner, Richard Branson, Bill Gates, the families like the Rockefellers for 100 plus years are the biggest landowners in the United States. He's not buying it for the land. He's buying water rights. Why are people so stupid?
You gotta love his candor. Why are people so stupid? Bill Gates buying up the farmland, not for the farmland, but of course for the water rights. And so I was I'm going to think out loud here for you. The thing that it kept coming to mind for me was sort of this strange thing that we've got going on, in that if you go back to, they say, the 40s, okay, is when we discovered the nuclear power, okay, right in the middle of the war with Germany, okay, and we bring all their Nazi scientists over here. So kind of interesting. Then on top of that, we start in 1951 sort of developing the nuclear power plant. And nuclear right now is only running 10% of all energy, okay? 439 reactors exist in 31 countries. But they want a lot more. And there's 70 under construction right now. 160 new total ones coming, okay, that have been pledged or happening or whatever. So you have 439, and then you have 160 more. That's a lot more coming our way, okay? Most are light water ones. We had Chernobyl in the Ukraine. We had the 3 Mile Island. We had Fukushima in 2011. So we've had these things along the way, these problems. And one of the things that kind of comes from this, if you start to really look into this, is the fact that this truth kind of peeks its head out and says, are we going to have enough to actually do what they say they want to do? Because in the process of closing coal plants, we're developing these. So what kind of boondoggle is this? And what kind of bait and switch is this, right? So you have Wyoming, whose articles are spelling out that they have a problem with water, which would be a problem, right, for the nuclear reactor plants, right? These plants, these power plants. And so over and over again, all you're hearing about is they have to have tons of water for the data centers. My state has a data center and uses a ton of water for it. And we have all of these different things going on. We also have billions of dollars in partnerships, wink, wink, with the feds, okay, with government, with states, to build these things. Just think about that for just a moment. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.
Well, hello everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfthestudio.com.
That's what's happening, baby. That's where you'll find me, along with lovers, brothers, and thieves.
Down by the river. That's where you find the thieves. Yeah. Well, welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. I'm so glad you're joining me today. And of course, the phone lines are open 888-673-1450. I'll try to get to your calls 888-673-1450. And of course, you can call in. You can tell me what's on your mind. I wanted just to go over this and just maybe bring a couple things up because I thought I was just thinking about all of the bait and switches. And last week we did a show on the bait and switch and doing a little bit more on that. How much, well, let's just say this, how many boondoggles, how many things are thrown at us and they were never meant to solve anything. It was just a matter of shifting perception that they could solve something when it was poised to fail. Kind of like electric cars, right? Electric cars. So people, I know you've got a lot of lefty, complete lunatics who believe that if the world goes to electric cars, we're going to be fantastic. They never ever look at the batteries. They don't understand the mechanisms. They don't understand anything about it. They just, in their mind, the theory sounds nice, so they're all in. They think they're doing something for the environment, okay? And they think they're doing something to help Mother Earth because they believe that Mother Earth is usually the God. I believe God is God, but they believe Mother Earth is God and government is God. And so this is the direction to go in. So in the news today, of course, everyone is kind of going back and forth on the whole, vandalism of Tesla and here they got mad when people didn't buy Bud Light, but they're okay with, ruining people's cars. Okay. That's the conversation that I think the government wants you to have. I don't think they want us to look any deeper at any type of bait and switch going on or what they're throwing at us in the name of all is good here. And boy, in theory, doesn't this sound nice when there's a completely different game going on than the one we talk about, obviously, in the media. Okay. So is it like the electric car boondoggle? So Bill Gates, the schmuck, is getting $4 more billion to do this Natrium plant in Wyoming. And there's a lot more of these to come. And they're pledging to do a tremendous amount of these throughout America and throughout the world, saying that this is going to solve the crisis. So they want to shutter the plants of coal, right? And go to these and move the employees over to these things. And what I'm saying is that even in AI world of research, okay, Google's going to tell you they need X amount of energy coming from these things. They're going to say we need, over 200 watts, whatever they say. And then, of course, we're only at 60 and we need so much more. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is a lot of money, a lot of financial going in this direction, okay, to solve some sort of problem, watts, whatever they say. And then, of course, we're only at 60 and we need so much more. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is a lot of money, a lot of financial going in this direction, okay, to solve some sort of problem when coal is just fine. Okay, we're doing it just dandy right now. And of course, this is going to be the new, we're going to have money flowing towards these things. So you can get rid of a lot in Doge, but I think there's just money flowing to other things that are not what they seem. And then, of course, you have Bill Gates, who maybe Dan Pena's right. Maybe it's all about the water rights. And then in the future, selling water, because if you don't have water, it's going to be very difficult to grow food. So the land that he's buying up isn't going to be for food. In fact, he'll probably dedicate it in some Mother Earth weird sort of ceremony to the earth. And then, of course, it's all about the water below. And so is this the same type of thing, right? Let's leap into the future for a second. You build up these nuclear plants, okay? And then we're looking at a situation where oh, it needs X amount of water, so water can't go to the people. They're going to act like there's a shortage. Water can't go to the people. They won't look underfoot. All politicians have been trained. You don't look underfoot. You don't know that there's water beneath your feet. You just pretend there's a drought and that it only comes from rainfall. And so that's how we've been trained, right? And since we were kids, right? It's all coming from rainfall. Nothing, you can't dig, you can't go deep, okay? So we're going to be told that we have to actually go without for energy to happen, right? For energy to happen. So there's all kinds of games being played, and there's all kinds of bait and switches with this that I don't even think we're anticipating. But once you start kind of thinking of it in the terms of it's being sold to us like it is with electric cars, and that it's doomed to fail. They want it to fail in the end, right? Because they really don't want people in cars at all. Most people can't see that. They're so caught up with, we don't even have enough, places for people to charge them. And it's horrific because you run out and then you have to sit there for 8 hours while your car does its thing. There's no way we could do that. But really in the end, they don't want it to succeed at all. They just want it to fail. Because why? Because it puts you in a bike or on foot. That's why. And it keeps you very contained and very controlled in an environment that they are kind of hoping for. Hence the smart cities. Okay. So then what they're doing is in the background, shutting down these coal plants and putting these things in. And is it just a lot of money flowing? Is it a big, huge laundromat of money? Probably. Why are they doing the 3 Mile Island? Isn't that a little weird, a little strange, right? This was announced last year. And so, of course, they have a 20-year agreement, and Constellation Energy is calling it the largest ever, and they aren't disclosing any details. So the money flowing through the government from our hands, our taxes and printed money, of course, and flowing into these types of situations. Very, very interesting. And I don't know, there's just something very odd going on, because I know that they know that there isn't enough or a vehicle to actually really compete with what we're doing right now. And I think that this is the next, or it has been, because it's been around since 1951, haven't quite been able to get that puppy to work, if you know what I mean. So it's expected. They keep talking about how much money and how many jobs, but no, they're not providing more jobs with these things. They're taking the jobs from coal and putting them into these. But I just wanted to kind of give a different point of view on this, because there's a reason that these have been very stagnant in the past. And all of a sudden, money is opening up, right? Avenues are opening up, and ways to do this is basically opening up. But I think that probably Dan Pena is right in the whole water rights conversation. It's all for water. Water will be the gold. They want everybody to dive into crypto, but they can pull that rug out from everybody, right? Take the wealth, right? Steal the wealth anytime they want to. So they want you to forego gold and silver, which is going up, by the way, forego that for crypto investment. Really, it's kind of a nothing investment, right? And then they also don't want you looking at water right now. They want you to think there's a drought, but they don't really want you looking in that direction. They want you focused on the right-left paradigm fight, okay? The insidious politicians and their constant fighting. And by the way, we do have a president, Senate, and House control right now. So what are we going to do with that? Are we going to reverse the socialized medicine? Are we going to do anything with that power? No one's talking about that. No one will. Anyway, I'd love to see us get rid of that. I really would. It would be really nice, wouldn't it, to see some things actually reversed with that power, because that's all we ever talk about is getting the win and then having the power to do things. Are we going to do things? Are we going to point some of this stuff out? It's going to get interesting. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show, katedalleyradio.com. And I have something about text messaging for you coming up next, too. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, welcome back. Kate Dalley Show, live today. And, of course, phone lines are open, 888-673-1450. You know, there's just so much to cover. There's so many things. And I just never think it's about what they're telling us it's about. It's always usually something else under the hood, unfortunately, sadly. And I think the game is trying to figure out what they're really doing, what the long-term plan is. And so that's why I'm bringing these things up. Very, very strange. I also want to add one thing to that conversation, too. But I did want to mention CozyEarth.com. Go to CozyEarth.com for the most amazing bedding and sheets. I mean, all kinds of things there. And the loungewear, I've had mine, oh my gosh, over 7 years now, right? 7, 8 years? Yeah, 7 years. Anyway, it washes perfectly. I love it. I throw that on all the time when I get home. So go to CozyEarth.com. The code word is Kate, and you can actually get 40% off. And then you're helping Truth in Radio, too. So you're helping me stay on the air, which is pretty amazing. So I love you for it. So I appreciate you doing that because we all have to do something, right? We all have to do something to help. I know people feel like, what can I do? Go to CozyEarth.com and go shopping. I'm telling you to go shopping today. How cool is that? But use the code Kate. All right, caller, go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, you kind of struck a nerve with bait and switch. I mean, the entire federal government is a bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain aspects of it that I'd like to point out that I discovered early on.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I no longer vote for the two major party candidates anymore. And my initiation, Kate, was under the Bush administration in 2000, when he got elected, he went to work to quote unquote cut taxes.
Right.
And I soon discovered with a little simple math that I learned in 3rd grade, conservative tax cuts are actually tax increases. And bear with me, I'm going to explain it. It's really simple. Again, this is 3rd grade math. So you cut the amount of money that you receive from the taxpayer, but you don't cut the amount of spending. So what do you have to do? You have to turn around and borrow that whatever you don't get, that shortfall. Excuse me. But you have to borrow that at interest. When you collect taxes, you don't collect interest on taxes. You just collect the amount that is owed. But when you borrow, you borrow at interest. So the interest payment actually represents an increase in obligations that we have to pay, maybe not right now, but at some point in our future.
Right.
That was my initiation to the fraudulent nature of federal government.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if we're stopping any of the money through Doge, if any of the money has been talked about that's going into to all of these, to all of the things I've been talking about in this hour, to electric cars, to the switch in power, to all of these things, because there's lots of money flowing. Microsoft bought or started up that data center in Racine, Wisconsin, and that's like what, $3 billion to start. I mean, this was just last year. So there's lots of money flowing. Are we talking about any of that? I don't hear us talking about any of that.
No, Doge is a huge distraction. And let me give you 2 pieces of evidence why. So Donald Trump is supporting the current continuing resolution, correct?
Yes.
And it assumes that he knows something about it. There are 2 problems with the continuing resolution. Well, there are 3. 1, it doesn't pay for the border wall. 2, it pays for everything the Doge is claiming to be cutting. Did you know that, Kate?
Well,
everything under not Doge, everything under USAID.
Yeah.
Everything that is currently slated to be paid for is covered under the current continuing resolution, which Donald Trump and most Republicans are supporting.
I know.
That should tell you everything you need to know
So they
about
want
the hypocritical nature of our politicians.
Yeah. So you've got all these morons with posters on the corner on the lefty loony side going, don't we want our USAID money. And then you've got all of us going, oh, good, it's finally cut, but it's not really because of that CR. So yeah, continuing resolution. Yep. I'm with you on that. Yeah, there's some interesting little bait and switches if people really are interested in talking about them. Thank you for the call. I love it. Because I'm here to talk about government as a whole. And when we get into our tribes, I'm a registered Republican, but I'm telling you, I am going to say what's going on both sides of the aisle continuously and daily, because we need to hear it and get out of the tribe talk. I call lefty loonies because they are. Everything's in theory. They're total loon bags from hell. But with that being said, we have thinking heirs on the right that are huge, and we just keep buying into the government savior process, and the very thing that's taking our liberty is not going to give it to us. It's impossible. So I know people are so excited right now, and I just hate to rain on the parade, but there's so many things like that gentleman is seeing that I'm seeing. I'm going, now, wait a minute, what are we not talking about? Because they want certain conversations to be had in media. And unfortunately, many people that hold the position I do as a talk show host will go for all of the low-hanging fruit topic ideas today, okay? It's easy to get the crowd happy and the crowd going and the crowd, looking at certain things. It's easy to do. That's why I call it low-hanging fruit. Harder to get, I think, the populace to really think about what's going on as a whole. What does it look like 5 years from now? What does it look like 10 years from now? Well-laid plans and a lot of money flowing that's not being stopped. And a lot of power at the helm. What are we doing with the power? What are we doing with it? I'm seeing a lot of money flowing, right, to Microsoft. I'm seeing a lot of money flowing in these directions for long-held plans. And that worries me. It should worry you too. And so are we going to be critical thinkers? Are we going to be true Americans and look at the whole of government for what is being done, what's being said, and what's actually being done and what's not being done? That's where I think this show is important, is that we'll talk about it and bring up on both sides of the aisle the problems that we're seeing. I see a tremendous amount of issues going on. I'm not a happy camper right now. And I feel like we are getting kind of lulled into that complacency, which I've said on the show many times. So I'm not going to keep saying that because I've said it and I've said it and I've said it. But there are so many bait and switches long term that are going on right now. And we're being I don't know. I feel like we're being a little corralled into only what they want us to see in front of us and not what's going to be really going on the world stage here. And the electric car thing is going to be, oh, whoops, I guess we really don't have enough infrastructure for electric cars, even though there's a lot of money flowing for people to buy them and a lot of money in that direction. And also with what we're talking about today with the car thing is going to be, oh, whoops, I guess we really don't have enough infrastructure for electric cars, even though there's a lot of money flowing for people to buy them and a lot of money in that direction. And also with what we're talking about today with the power plants cropping up and all the money flowing to the grotesque individuals in our country, the Gates and everybody else buying up and doing all of these pieces of property for that. Something's very wrong. Something's very wrong that's going on here with 3 Mile Island and everything else. I'll be right back. Man, do I have some clips for you coming up. Kate Dalley Show.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Of more than half the world's population with that drug is the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of our species. And it has happened now. And I know that's very, very difficult for a lot of people to accept, particularly people who've had it. But we are now living in the aftermath of that. And the repercussions are going to go on, I'm afraid, for a very long time. It's not like, oh, lots of people died, and now they've finished dying, and obviously we want justice. People will keep dying, keep being extremely ill, probably be infertile, affected in all kinds of different ways for years and years, I'm afraid. And people have to kind of accept that thing took place. And anybody who was involved at any kind of high level with making that happen, not your friend.
All right, welcome back. Kate Dalley Show, last hour. So many important clips for you in this hour. So I'm going to get to it, okay? Grace will join me next week, and so will Chris Ann Hall, by the way. I do have a guest tomorrow, and I just, it's funny because I come across certain things that I've been studying, been looking into, and that clip was very interesting, and I'm going to share some of those interesting clips with you that I've come across deep into the well of research. You guys know I love research. I stay up usually 3 o'clock in the morning at least to research, so I love it. But it is horrifying at the same time too. Now, in that clip, he talked about the COVID shot, right? Being the biggest thing to harm us. I agree, it's one of the biggest things. I think the entire program of the vax was one of the bigger problems that we've ever faced because of what it's done to our immune system. In a time when sanitation is at an all-time high and things are going great in this country, and they have to introduce a vax program from mid-50s on. And as we know now, polio, it was the symptoms of a poison that they were actually putting on things at the time. Those symptoms, they called it polio. So I've done vast amount of research on that. And I will say that one of the narratives today is that it's just the COVID shot that has the problems. And so there are shots that matter and shots that are great. And I actually do not agree with that. I think the entire program is the problem. So most people, you're not going to probably hear that from a lot of people. They're just going to zero in on the COVID shot. But I actually think it's the entire program. Also the things that are sprayed on us. Also the things that are sprayed up in the sky. Also, there are also the things in our food, the spraying that's been going on in our food that's been causing a lot of problems for a really long time. So there's a lot of things that we have going on. I also want to play this for you because I did think that this was extremely interesting from a nurse. So listen to this nurse talk about from 2020, 2021, and 2022. Here we go.
Although I am not a doctor, I'm just a nurse. But what we saw on these front lines, we knew what was happening. And when we asked for the ibuprofen, they said, no, it was contraindicated. When we asked, why aren't we giving them steroids? Oh, well, it's not. We're just following orders. Following orders has led to the sheer number of deaths that has occurred in these hospitals. I didn't see a single patient died of COVID. I've seen a substantial number of patients die of negligence and medical malfeasance. When I was on the front lines of New York, I'm unfortunately known globally viral as the nurse that was in the break room sobbing, saying that they were murdering my patients. The pharmaceutical companies had gone into those hospitals and decided to practice, I guess you can say, on the minorities, on the disadvantaged, on the marginalized populations that we know that we had no advocates for, because the very
The older
agencies that should
people,
have been
too.
protecting them were closed because we were sheltering in place. Now, while I was there and I saw that the pharmaceutical companies were rolling out remdesivir onto the patients, I tried to get a hold of the IRBs. I tried to get a hold of my appropriate chain of command. I tried CMS. I tried Department of Health. And they rolled out remdesivir onto a substantial number of patients for which we all saw it was killing the patients. And now it's the FDA-approved drug that is continuing to kill patients in the United States. As nurses, we've collected a statistical or descriptive amount of information that you may not get from the doctors, because for more they do quantitative data, we do qualitative data with a humanistic, phenomenological approach in nursing research. And so we've collected the data from all of these patients across the country from which we have been helping patients, because I formed the organization American Frontline Nurses and the Advocacy Network, so nurses could advocate for these patients. And all of this data pool shows that as these patients get remdesivir, they have a less than 25% chance of survival if they get more than 2 doses.
Yeah. And on top of that, still being given out. They switched over to the other name of it. It starts with a V. I can't remember offhand what it is, but really scary. And what we witnessed and what we saw is such a huge lesson for us moving forward with the medical industry. And I really do hope people are paying attention to what happened. People were following orders. They were swearing by whatever the administrations would tell them to say and get behind, they would do without questioning. What's the problem with doctors and nurses questioning is usually they're removed. I know a couple of people that were removed from a medical institution because they started questioning things. They started saying things. They started turning in reports and saying, wait a second here, I think what we're doing is the problem, not COVID, blovid, whatever. And so there have been a lot of whistleblowers finally speaking to this and saying, look, in the hospitals, we were just told to follow orders. So in the future, NBC did this report, and the report was all about hologram doctors are going to be sort of the new thing that they try to introduce to all of us as normal. And this came out right after the election in November, and it was all about, this was an NBC News report, and it was all about the adoption of hologram technology, enabling real doctors to be beamed into examination rooms on life-sized 3-dimensional projections, so that you're not really interacting, but you kind of are. It's a very weird thing. So physicians to interact with patients in real time so that you don't have to physically travel to those locations. I see a lot of problems with this coming up, as you could probably imagine. But this is probably going to be one of the things they try to instigate. Now, we said this on the show back in 2021 because there were doctors coming out and saying, the new frontier is going to be hologram doctors. It's going to be hologram treatments. It's going to be all kinds of weird things that we can't even fathom right now, is the direction that medicine's going in. Why? Well, if you have people with opinions and people that actually want to listen to God and have that be something that they are able to do within that career, kind of like Dr. Simone Gold, when she said, I want to be able to listen to God, kind of give me a nudge and say, hey, for this patient, you might want to look at XYZ instead of what you're being told. We lose that. We lose that very, very beautiful part of the human side of this. And also, they don't want doctors bucking their rules. They don't want doctors questioning. They want robots. They want people that go along with whatever they're told to do by a horrid administration that continuously will only be the government's mouthpiece in how to treat. So we won't be getting that doctor sort of interaction that we think we are. Same thing with teachers. A lot is being said that kids will end up on a computer way more and listening to more of AI more than they ever will a teacher in the classroom. Why? Because teachers can speak up. The very few that are even conservative that are left can speak up and say, I don't like this, or I don't like this twist that you're giving this. I don't like the twist in what the AI is kind of doing with curriculum, right? Or I don't like what I'm seeing here. They don't want any of that. So what are they going to do? It's sort of like that replacement for these major things that we're used to. You're used to teachers, even though I'm not a fan of the public education system, the government education system. And of course, what do you do with doctors that say, well, I don't want to go along with that because I think it's harming somebody. I want to go along with more natural things that have to do with health. Oh, geez. Yeah, you're out. So anyway, so we're going to be seeing a lot more technology coming into the medical world. And I did want to play this. I thought that this was very, very interesting, shall we say. Let me pull this clip up for you. This is about virus. Now, I've done a lot of shows on virus because I think there's a lot of problems, a lot of research on contagion. Here you go. Here's the clip for you.
I tell you and every listener out there, there is not one study in the scientific medical literature that demonstrates that any illness in animals or children is transmittable from one person or one animal to another. And there's at least 200 that I know of that show that it doesn't work like that, including the Rossino study in the Spanish flu, and Daniel Reuters wrote a book called Can You Catch a Cold? 200 studies investigating the transmission of colds and flu, all of which were negative. So if you think that's the case, then you're going to have to send me a study showing that that's how it works. And after 4 years, nobody has. So that's the first thing I would say to a virologist, is we have no evidence that disease is even transmissible. So why are we studying this? Now, there is no example in the scientific medical literature of any virus being separated, isolated from any tissue or fluid of any sick person in order to be characterized. And again, if anybody disagrees, they can send me the study to show I'm wrong. I know 100% sure I'm not. And in fact, we have over 200 institutions who, when asked, can you show me a study that shows that they did that? They said no such study exists.
Right. And I went back into the Spanish flu, and I can tell you that there were many doctors going, contagion, masks. What are you guys talking about? And that's about the time they were kicking out all of the kind of the old school country doctors and making sure that they went through the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine to strictly contain the curriculum that they were going to be learning and make sure that it was very controlled into the new contagion. Because without contagion, you wouldn't have been able to develop public health in this country. I've talked about that a lot. That was a huge bait and switch. If we're still talking bait and switch, that was a huge bait and switch, was to get people to believe that you were going to infect everybody that you're around. If that was the case, we would all be sick all the time. But when your spouse or your kid gets sick, you're not sick. Can you explain that? Right. So that, again, another clip that needs to be heard over and over and over again. We don't have a contagion issue, but they're going to constantly sell it that way. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Want a place to go? Round about 5, down to the doctor. Down to the doctor.
All right. Welcome back. Kate Dalley Show. So glad that you're listening in, because usually on this show, you're probably going to hear stuff that you're not hearing anywhere else. And sadly and unfortunately, there are a lot of people that want to censor that because they like to go with the flow of what mass media wants people to hear. But it's so sad to me because there are so many things that we can make connections to and do research on. And I implore you to do research. I implore you to get busy and do that, because it's so vital and important for our own well-being. The one thing that you have control over is your health. So we talk about it a lot on the show, and I'll bring up things that people won't bring up because people should be able to think about these things or understand these things on a better level and not just take what your white coat tells you, but actually do research. And so I feel sad for all those people that want to censor material like that, because I don't know. I don't know what their hook is. Like, do they just really want you to only go with status quo all the time? I don't know. Let me take a caller. Go ahead, caller. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hi Kate. So just before the break, you played a clip by a gentleman. I guess he was a virologist. I'm no doctor. I'm no nurse. I don't work in the medical industry. I am college educated. I'm an engineer. And Saturday, and I'm take the protocol. I've been taking the protocol for some time. I take my vitamins and all that other stuff. But I caught something. I call it the flu on Saturday, and it just it was a train wreck.
Right.
And 2 days later, my wife has caught the same thing, has exactly the same symptoms. So when he's making a claim that we can't transmit what we have to somebody else, that's not my observation at all.
Okay. So
I got sick, and 2 days later, she's sick with exactly the same stuff.
Well, I would imagine it would probably be then a bacteria, a toxin, or a mold.
Or it could be the crap they're putting in the air. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not in the medical industry. All I'm saying is, I got flu-like symptoms. Also, I could go down the list of what I had. I don't think you want to hear it all.
Okay.
But,
let me answer that.
Like I said, 2 days later, she got the same thing.
Okay.
So
let me answer that.
I don't know.
Off the
I
air.
can't subscribe to the fact that we can't give something we got to somebody else.
Okay. Let me answer that off the air. Okay. So this is a short segment. That's why. What he's talking about is the fact that when they named virus, it was invisible. And in order to see virus in a microscope, you had to add bacteria into it and all kinds of gross things like feces in order to see it. Okay. So he's not saying that you can't get something from a bacteria. And your immune system, then it would show up as symptoms of, like, let's say the flu. Oftentimes it's bacterial. Like, I got a bacterial eye infection. Okay. That was a bacteria. It wasn't a virus. It was a bacteria. Okay. So on Monday. And I couldn't be here. So what he's not saying that nothing is catchy as far as that goes. What they're trying to say in the medical world since they did the rollout of the Johns Hopkins and public health was that it's all virus is contagious and all virus is invisible, and just believe us that it's contagious. If you were struck down with something, and I would imagine you're living with somebody that is struck down with that too, I would probably be geared to think that that was more of something going on that was bacterial that you were both affected by. Either that or a toxin or a mold of some sort. There's all kinds of other things you could have, but what he's saying is that virus in of itself, that there's a huge problem with how they designed it, with how they named it, and what they say it can do. So there's other things that you can be sick with, and that will represent in the same types of symptoms, because think about it, the flu, the cold, basically you're dealing with these 90 symptoms, right? Over and over and over again. And that's your immune system. If you have a good immune system, you can actually counteract a lot. But if your immune system is low, it wouldn't be able to do that too. And just because you're taking vitamins doesn't always mean that your immune system is perfect. So he's saying virus, but there are other culprits that he was not naming. He's just saying that they try to say that everything is contagious. If that were the case, we'd be sick all the time. So your immune system has a lot to do with it. And then there are the other culprits too that he wasn't naming. So and we've done many, many shows on that. So you have to sort of separate those out. I would say if it's a stomach flu, I would say it's probably more bacterial or something like that than it would be just a virus. So, all right, I'm going to come right back. I've got 3 really amazing clips I want you to hear that bring up something that is rarely talked about. and sheds a light on maybe some of the things we know we probably should take, but we really don't. And the food supply doesn't contain them anymore. But I do want to play this for you because I don't think I've played this on the show before. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show, katedalleyradio.com for the podcast of today's show that you can share with people. Be right back.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on interrupted this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows, only $14.98. Queens, $18.98. King size, only $1 more. Body pillows, $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
On a ridge he rested as he went along his way.
All right, welcome back. Kate Dalley Show. You know, we're going to bring up stuff. It's going to hit a nerve because we have just, I feel like we have just been told so many things over and over again, and it's okay. It's okay. We won't fall apart if we question them. And so, and I know so I think it's hard to do that. And I've had a hard time actually in all the research I've done, probably 38,000 hours now of research, is that it's hard to embrace or think about maybe things that we have been lied to in the last 100 years. I'll just go with the last 100 years to make it easy. But there's a whole lot of lying going on. And I love the doctors that will actually speak out about real health and bring up things that your hospital doctors and your clinic doctors won't. There's not that many doctors that'll actually bring these kinds of things up. So I love that they'll do it. This is from Gary Brecka, and I loved this. I wanted to play this for you. By the way, please visit the sponsors. There's a link for FIQ supplements, where I get my supplements from because they're better supplements than what you can find over the counter. All kinds of the colloidal silver that's amazing that I use in my house. This is the one that I love the most. I did a lot of research on colloidal silver. This is the brand. It's right on my website, katedalleyradio.com. Lots of help there. All right. So this about from Gary Brecka about headaches. I thought this was really fascinating. Here we go.
Majority of headaches, guys, remember this. There are no pain receptors in the brain. Brain surgery is painless, right? So the brain is not capable of sending a pain signal. So where does the signal come from? It comes from the covering of the brain called the dura. The dura hates 2 things. It hates being stretched and it hates being contracted. 85% of all the migraine sufferers that I've ever treated had a simple clinical deficiency in sodium. I have them drink salt water and their headaches go into permanent remission because we are not hydrated when we have water in our blood. We're hydrated when we have water in our tissues. And what determines whether or not water leaves the blood and enters the tissue is the sodium gradient. It's called osmosis. So if we actually restore the sodium gradient, that dura starts to relax and the pain goes away.
Interesting, right? I bet you're going to try that. I hope you do, actually. I get headaches, and so I'm going to try that. Celtic salt is one of the best. I know people go for the pink Himalayan and all that. I like the Celtic. The Celtic has 86 minerals in it. I love it. And you might want to check out Celtic salt. Okay. And so there's one for you. Here is another one for you. I thought this was very, very fascinating too. It's all about biopsies and what they're doing. Here you go. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to play that one. I'm actually going to play iodine for you. I want to play this one. I thought this was very, very interesting as well, because we know that iodine is sort of missing, right, from our diet. And they always are just watch your salt, watch your salt, watch your salt. And then, of course, iodine, they never talk about taking iodine too. So I just wanted to share this one on iodine with you.
Have the baby take 3.125 milligrams of iodine. This is cool. It increases the baby's IQ above the mother's IQ on average of 10 to 15 points. They're getting kids whose mothers do this that are menses. and they're just showing up out of nowhere in areas that these school systems. We're not talking at Cape Canaveral. We're not talking Oak Ridge. We're not talking at Huntsville. Rocket scientists. We're talking country folk that are doing it. Their kids are turning out menses, and so it's huge.
So is there something to be said about that, iodine, and the fact that we all probably could use more iodine in our... I actually take iodine every day. One of the things that fluoride displaces is iodine. That's interesting, right? Okay. And thyroid problems, we have other doctors speaking out and saying it's a lack of selenium. Remember how Dr. Oh my gosh, it just escaped me. Anyway, Lee Merritt, Dr. Lee Merritt, how she was talking about how taking selenium is a good idea. Don't overdo it, but take selenium. Selenium and iodine, if we had more of that in our system, we wouldn't be having as many thyroid problems, right? And how cod liver is such a big deal when talking about this. Cod liver oil, our ancestors took it. Our grandparents took it. We do not. Now you can get it in capsules. You can actually go to FIQ Supplements and get it. I love their cod liver delivery because you don't have to taste it. Anyway, nasty stuff, right? But what's fascinating about cod liver is there was a reason that they took that all the time. They didn't have a lot of the problems that we have today. And so there's that. I wanted to make sure and tell you that, because does it have to do with IQ? Does it have to do with the mechanism of fluoride, the introduction of fluoride into our system, and what that does to iodine and what that does to our IQ? And so I thought I would bring that up. I thought it was interesting. Here is, and I will get to the biopsy one in just a moment. Here is 5 ingredients not to digest, 5 ingredients that you should run from. And I will put this up on SoundCloud so you can listen to just these clips too. Here we go.
Here are my 5 ingredients that if you see on the back of a food label, you need to run for the hills. Number 1 is high fructose corn syrup, which is also called corn syrup. Number 2 is sodium nitrate, which is a preservative found in a lot of different foods such as deli meats, and it's actually been deemed not safe for human consumption. Number 3 is hydrogenated oils, sunflower oil, vegetable oil, rapeseed oil, cottonseed oil, soybean oil. I can just keep going. Number 4 is artificial sweeteners and sugar alcohols such as xylitol, erythritol, maltodextrin, aspartame. These are all lab-made sweeteners and sugar alcohols, and when you eat them, your body literally does not recognize what they are, and it doesn't know how to process them. Number 5 is kind of an obvious one, food coloring. Avoid food coloring. Only get colored food that's been naturally colored with things like beetroot powder, spirulina powder. If you're getting stuff for the kids, you should go for those options for sure.
And I agree. I mean, we've got to make some better choices. We've been chemicaled to death, We're like a walking chemical vat. So I totally get it. And I think that that's important as well. Also on measles, I wanted to play this again for you. I think I played this in an opener, but it's such an important clip because it has to do with measles and vitamin A and all of the hype about measles. Oh my gosh, I wish they'd just stop. I've never wanted to take a sledgehammer more to mainstream media devices and hearing the measles hype. Here we go.
I was involved in 4 cases of children who were perfectly normal in their development until they had their school-age shots at age 5, DPT, hepatitis vaccine, MMR, and within weeks they were autistic. In my research, I've discovered that some children are protected if they have the lipid-soluble form of vitamin A that found from natural sources. However, the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine at 15 months of age depletes the body of all vitamin A. When they get the DPT the same day or several months later, many of these children disconnect. I have also discovered that the measles antibody that the body makes once they're exposed to that measles vaccine cross-reacts with intermediate filaments. Intermediate filaments are the glue that hold the cells that line the gut wall together. So when they get that MMR vaccine, they develop a leaky gut. The loss of the cell-to-cell connection also occurs in the blood-brain barrier and in the cells that surround the bile canicula where toxins are excreted from the body. What I'm treating these children with is the natural lipid-soluble form of vitamin A. I am giving their recommended daily allowance only of vitamin A in the form of cod liver oil to bypass these blocked G protein pathways.
Cod liver oil. See? I think there are so many things like this that I could play all day long for people. And the reason I'm choosing these ones is I've actually done research in these arenas. And so that's why I'm playing the ones I'm playing for you, because there's a lot of chatter out there. There's a lot of things that are said that I think aren't true. There's a lot of like little bits of misinformation in different clips that I've noticed. But I like these clips. I think that there's a lot there to glean from. I'm going to come right back, and I want to talk about cancer for a moment, because you know what? Like I said, these are the things you do have control over. And so we need to spend a little bit of our time kind of getting back to actual real health to combat anything that's coming. We know they've made a lot more shots, and they are going to try really hard to get their narratives through on what the next thing is to harm us. But we need to be smarter than that. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, welcome back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com. And one of the 1% of media left that will even dare play clips like this, I think. Isn't that sad, you guys? We live in America. We're supposed to have free speech. We're supposed to have vehicles that support free speech. It's really amazing what it's turned into in this country. It's always based on everyone's what they get to hear is based on whoever's making the decision on their political choices or their understanding, which is usually not much. So you have a lot of censorship going on. And people like to go with the status quo. They feel more comfortable doing that. And I'm always one now, after all the research I've done, is to go, well, what is mainstream saying? What's the opposite? Seriously and sadly, what's the opposite? Because we're fed so much garbage, right? And then the AP News just hurls it at us all the time. So I think we've been sold a box of rocks on cancer. I think that I think there's a lot of truth to this next clip I'm going to play you. This is about the biopsies, and it's just amazing the stuff we've been told. And where you have control over your health, you guys, this is one area that do your homework. I'm not saying believe me, don't, believe all of this that I'm playing for you. Don't even look into it, just believe it. I'm saying look into it and go do homework on it. And if you walk away, maybe with your mind changed or not, I'm okay with that. I just want more people kind of looking into it, and we have to stop taking what they give us. When they adopted virus back in the day, they really sold it as kind of the new public health. This is how we're going to get public health in this country. And yeah, it's invisible. And unless we add bacteria to it, you can't see it. Well, that's a lot to take in. And by the way, when they did that in the early 1900s, there were many doctors and nurses very vocal about that in newspapers across the country saying, yeah, what in the hell are you talking about? Like, what is this? What do you mean it's invisible and you can't see it? This is ridiculous. So a lot of people were calling it out early on, but you never hear about that. Okay, so here's biopsies. Here we go.
There is no such thing as biopsy spreading cancer. They say that out loud, but they have not even one scientific study to show for that, whereas I have 50 to show that they do spread cancer. They just believe so strongly and so blindly in what they were told, and they're afraid of the truth because it means that for years and years and years, doctors have been killing people through biopsies. And they always blame it on the cancer instead of on the metastasis that was caused by the biopsy. Be very careful. Never do a prostate biopsy. Never do a breast biopsy. There are better ways. You don't need the mammogram with its own radiation. You don't need biopsy to tell you if it's cancer or not. You can be 99% sure just by doing an ultrasound with a technician who knows what she's doing.
Interesting, huh, on the biopsy. And they do blame it on the cancer. They never, ever really take the biopsy itself to task, which worries me. So this is something that I think people should think about for the future. I also think that chemo, same kind of thing. It's always the cancer that kills the person, but isn't it the chemo? I mean, a lot of good doctors said, you know, if we're accepting a 97%, death rate with chemo, why are we still prescribing this over and over again? We should not be okay with that. And so I've done a lot of shows that talk about different aspects, but this was interesting. This had to do a little bit with Jackie Kennedy, with the JFK files being in the news this week. I thought I would play this one for you. Here we go.
Jackie Kennedy did not die of cancer. It was taken of her 3 days before she entered the hospital in New York for her first and what turned out to be her last chemotherapy treatment for cancer. She was diagnosed 6 months before her death as having non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of cancer that normally takes 10, 12, 15 years to kill you. It's relatively painless, say, in comparison to pancreatic cancer, which can kill you in 3 to 6 months and be excruciatingly painful. And when she went in for her first chemotherapy treatment, there was no death watch on her because there was no anticipation she was going to die. It goes in on Friday night. Tuesday, she's dead. And you're supposed to believe that Jackie Kennedy died of cancer. Well, as a pathologist and a clinician, I'll guarantee, as sure as God made little green apples, Jackie Kennedy did not die of cancer. She died of an overdose of chemotherapy, just like Betsy Lehman. And if they can kill a Jackie Kennedy and they can kill a Betsy Lehman, and not a single thing happened to any of those doctors, they weren't sued, they weren't dismissed, their licenses weren't suspended, nothing happened to those clinics or hospitals, what chance does the average person out in the street have? Not very much.
You know what? That's Joel Wallach. It brings up a very interesting thing, doesn't it? We always accept the definition given to us, and that is, well, they died of the cancer. It's never pointing a finger at the chemo. And then it makes me wonder why doctors don't question chemo, why they never question chemo. You'll never hear most of your white coats even question. It's just, oh, that's all we got. That's all we got. It's horrible, and you'll probably die from it. It's all we got. In 2025, that's all we got? You sure about that? I think they've been sitting on a lot of cancer cures that developed in the early 1900s. I think that a lot of toxins and poisonings and all kinds of things came down through our fertilizers and chemical fertilizers and gave us all kinds of symptoms. There's all kinds of reasons, from food supply to genetics to all kinds of different things, right? But is it more curable than we think if we had the right tools? Or are we only given a bad tool and then told that it's the cancer? Well, why isn't it ever the bad tool, right? And because most people, right, they're going to get cancer, and then it spreads a couple years later. They go into remission, then it spreads, and they're dead. Something's wrong here. Okay, caller, you got 30 seconds. Sorry, but that's all you got. Go for it.
Okay, so there was this gal in my family that was diagnosed with this super rare, like 1 in 10 million forms of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, she drank a 12-pack of beer with her husband every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Her favorite food was Del Taco. She ate like crap. She looked bad.
Right.
God rest her soul. And then somebody else in the family says, I know this head of USC Medical Center or Oncology Center that can confirm the diagnosis if it's true or not. What do you think he said?
Yeah.
She's got the same 1 in 10 million forms of cancer, put her on chemotherapy, and she was dead inside of a year.
Aww.
And I can't see, I can't say anything to anybody, right?
I know, right?
Because I look like the bad guy.
I appreciate your call. I really do. There are so many stories like that. I think that we need to be questioning a lot. Like I said, when it comes to cancer, I'd look at the Budwig protocol. She had so much success with a couple of key ingredients that deliver a little bit of a shock, an electric shock actually, to a cell, okay, to your cells, to flip them. So Budwig principle, there are so many things that I would look at other than chemo. And when you have doctors like deliberately not question chemo, then I really worry. Okay. There's something really wrong there. And I did a whole deep dive on the cancer institutes and the war on cancer money and everything that came out of that era. And boy, they really wanted you to believe that this was the only way. There was nothing else. And then, of course, they only blame the cancer. I just thought it was fascinating. So a lot of things to think about, right? A lot of food for thought in this hour. You don't have to come away agreeing with me. There's just a lot of food for thought there. And of course, I'll put up the clips on SoundCloud. Be faithful, be fearless out there. Tell the truth. Just